Question 3, Dr. Chan Han-pan. President, some members of the industry have relayed that given the government's implementation of cargo fuel surcharge, in short CFS, liberalization last year followed by a significant increase in CFS of certain airlines this year, they are concerned that the rising operating costs may undermine the competitiveness of Hong Kong's air cargo industry. In this connection, will the government inform this council, 1, whether the government has monitored and assessed the changes in the levels of CFS levied on cargo routes originating from Hong Kong since implementation of the liberalization of the measures put in place by the government in response to significant increases in CFS to stabilize the costs of air cargo services in Hong Kong, and whether it will step up monitoring efforts and require airlines to enhance the transparency of their CFS adjustment mechanisms, including disclosure of the basis for determining the levels of CFS. 2, whether it has assessed the actual impact of rising costs of air cargo services on the air cargo throughput and competitiveness of the Hong Kong International Airport, of the specific measures in place to consolidate Hong Kong's position as an international air cargo hub and international gateway to the Greater Bay Area, and 3, whether the government will introduce targeted support measures or relaunch appropriate measures to regulate CFS as an effort to alleviate the cost pressures faced by the industry, particularly small and medium-sized freight forwarders and cross-border e-commerce logistics service providers, as well as establish mechanisms and maintain communication with the industry to regularly review the cost structures of Hong Kong's air cargo industry. Secretary for Transport and Logistics. President, in response to the impact of the Middle East situation, aviation fuel prices on airlines and the cargo industry, the government has maintained close communication with the industry, responded promptly to their concerns, and facilitated the industry in turning challenges into opportunities by exploring new cargo potential and reinforcing Hong Kong's leading position in air cargo. My reply to Dr. Chan's question is as follows. 1. Over the past 2 months, the government has held multiple meetings with local airlines and arranged 2 joint meetings between local airlines and the cargo industry to better understand the situation and urge local airlines to strengthen communication with the trade. As aviation fuel prices have eased slightly recently, several local airlines have made 2 rounds of downward adjustments to their CFSs. Local airlines have also introduced a new medium-haul category for CFS to respond more flexibly to market demand. The government will continue to closely monitor adjustments to fuel charges to ensure the process remains reasonable and transparent. 2. Hong Kong International Airport retained its position as the world's busiest cargo airport in 2025, handling 5.07 million tons of cargo, marking its 15th time topping the global ranking since 2010. The Hong Kong International Airport boasts a robust network of airlines and destinations. Currently served by approximately 140 airlines, it connects to some 220 destinations worldwide. Hong Kong's flight approval process is efficient and transparent, enabling airlines to flexibly adjust capacity to meet sudden surges in passenger and cargo demand arising from the Middle East situation. Since early March 2026, the Civil Aviation Department has approved about 820 additional flight applications and expedited processing of around 4,100 flight adjustment applications. We are actively engaging airlines to encourage them to deploy extra cargo capacity to connect the Hong Kong International Airport with destinations currently experiencing service shortfalls due to the Middle East situation. As of April this year, the airport recorded 1.63 million tons of cargo throughput, representing a 3.7% year-on-year increase, while cargo flight movements rose by 3.2% compared with the same period last year. That is approximately 25,000 additional movements. To further expand the air cargo network, the Airport Authority launched the Freighter Network Development Program in March this year, offering financial incentives to encourage cargo airlines to increase their freighter services at the Hong Kong International Airport, thereby enhancing cargo connectivity and network resilience. The program is expected to boost freighter flight frequency by more than 15%. In terms of regional collaboration, the airport authority is strengthening logistics cooperation in the GBA and facilitating cross-boundary intermodal cargo transshipment. Through the innovative HKIA Hong Kong International Airport Dongguan Logistics Park project, we are enhancing the connectivity between the airport and manufacturing and logistics hinterland in the GBA via sea air intermodal transshipment. Upon full operation of the park, operating costs are expected to be reduced by around 50%, while cargo processing time can be shortened by approximately 1/3. To further facilitate cargo transshipment, the government will amend relevant legislation this year to extend the current arrangements under the air transshipment cargo exemption scheme to cover other intermodal transshipment modes, including sea-to-air transshipment. The airport authority has also been actively promoting smart development and spearheading the digitalization of the air cargo supply chain. The one-stop digital platforms HKIA Cargo and HKIA Cargo Connect, managed by the airport authority, provide an innovative, smart, and interconnected digital ecosystem for the industry. More than 50% of Hong Kong's import and export cargo volume is now handled through these platforms, improving operational efficiency and helping companies explore new business and partnership opportunities. 3. Airlines can now decide whether to impose fuel surcharges and at what level for flights departing from Hong Kong. To ensure transparency, airlines have published on their websites or on the Airport Authority's digital platform HKIA Cargo the maximum CFS levels applicable to flights departing from Hong Kong as required. In response to the recent downward adjustment in fuel prices, local airlines have correspondingly lowered their CFS, demonstrating that the existing mechanism provides sufficient flexibility for local airlines to make appropriate adjustments according to market conditions. At the same time, the government's recent diesel subsidy and tunnel toll waiver have also helped relieve pressure on the local cargo and logistics sector arising from rising operating costs. The government will continue to closely monitor the situation. Thank you, President. Dr. Chan Han-pan. President. We have seen aviation fuel prices double, at least in international prices. The CFS has increased by 4-fold for local airlines. In the short term, there may not be an observable impact on the cargo industry, but for the smaller parcels, the minimus parcels, it can really affect their confidence. They may move their cargo elsewhere. So I want to ask if the government will consider having a mechanism that is linked with international aviation fuel prices so that the calculations of the surcharges will be more transparent and that there will not be significant fluctuations for the benefit of the industry. Secretary, I understand the member pays close attention to the issue and we have remained in close communication. Aviation fuel prices account for as high as 30% of the operating costs of local airlines. It has a significant impact on their operational continuity. When we discuss with airlines the issue, we do want them to maintain their services in order to maintain capacity in logistics in Hong Kong. We are also communicating this point to the cargo industry. And for the de minimis shipments, they have some time requirements. And the Civil Aviation Department has our instructions to flexibly deal with applications for flights. And we also have non-local airlines that can expand their capacity to deal with the surge in demand. We also pay close attention to the international fuel price trends. We do see recently there have been some mild decline in fuel prices, but then because the fuels have to be refined and we need to therefore have regard to the supply of refineries in the Middle East. So the price may not necessarily go down with the overall fuel prices. So when we do not see a significant decrease in prices, we have some interim measures. We have introduced another category, medium haul category, so that adjustments can be made in accordance with the different categories. We will continue to facilitate communication. Thank you. Mr. Chang Ho-feng, thank you. President, I'm worried my question may go beyond the scope of the oral question. I want to ask about the diesel subsidy. So in a recent interview with the Secretary for Environment and Ecology, they have had independent assessments that companies are not benefiting greatly from this. But from 10th to 30th of April, I'm not sure if the government is monitoring the increase in diesel prices in the 2 weeks. $3 is the increase in diesel prices. So after implementation, have you been monitoring whether the costs of refined oil really increase by this percentage? Because you are subsidizing oil companies, allocating $1.8 billion to them, would you ask them to have regard to the relevant percentages? Secretary, thank you. I will convey your concerns to the EEB. We also have a specific working group that is monitoring the increase in oil prices. That would involve the EEB. Recently, they have public announcements to make it transparent. Companies' information on adjustments of oil price or diesel prices. Under the subsidy mechanism, there are also different measures to prevent abuse. Regarding Mr. Chang's concerns, we do attach great importance to them, and we will convey your views to the team and we will consider them carefully. Thank you. Captain Luther Lam. In the second part of the reply, it talks about how the airport authority launched the Freighter Network Development Program, and it has suspended some requirements for routes. There is no longer a restriction on destinations. It would also cover additional flights of existing routes. The industry welcomes this. But we have new routes developed by neighboring regions actually receiving a much higher subsidy. It can be more than tenfold. So would you include the FNDP Freighter Network Development Program in the government's regular policies and increase subsidies? Covered. Thank you. Secretary, thank you, Captain Luther Lam. In June 2024, the Airport Authority launched the FNDP, offering financial incentives to encourage cargo airlines to increase their freighter services. We have had quite good results. We have 36 airlines developing 82 new routes, and they have increased frequency of flights for 14 existing routes. We have been monitoring the effectiveness of the program dynamically. Let me also say this here. We have been working closely with the airport authority to see how the Hong Kong International Airport compares with other airports in Asia or the west of the world, the fees for landing as well as other charges charged by airlines. We do see our fee levels being on an average level. We need to have regard to our costs. We do also need to attract new routes and develop new markets and new destinations. We will try to strike a balance and make sure we can enhance our cost effectiveness. Thank you. Mr. Eric Yim. Thank you, President. We have some support measures for the industry to safeguard competitiveness of aviation and logistics in Hong Kong. Apart from providing subsidies to transportation companies, can you provide short-term subsidies to cross-boundary e-commerce logistics providers and other firms in the industry, or provide dedicated funding to consolidate Hong Kong's advantage as an international aviation and logistics hub? Secretary, thank you, Mr. Eric Yim, for your suggestions. Recently, the government launched diesel subsidy for commercial vehicles and the logistics sector in general. We also have tunnel toll waivers for commercial vehicles. They are providing subsidies to the frontline firms in the logistics supply chain. In fact, we have to make good use of public money when providing such subsidies. And with Mr. Eric Yim mentioned other firms, including agents, they vary in scale. There are some larger companies. Firms have different target markets and positioning. We are paying close attention to the issue. For airlines and logistics agents, we have make sure to facilitate communication between the two sides. Actually, some concerns were raised were not just on operating costs. They said some of their clients need cargoes urgently, or there are some time constraints, so they are hoping we can increase the capacity, provide more options with them, so that they will not be limited to capacity provided by local airlines, but also non-local airlines. We will take this direction to help the industry respond to the impact caused by the Middle East situation. Reverend Peter Kuhn. I do understand why we need to increase CFS in response to the increase in fuel prices, but then we are not exactly clear about the airlines' calculations and when they make such changes. Dr. Chan Han-pan asked a relevant question, hoping to enhance transparency. But I haven't heard the administration provide some concrete measures in surveillance. Can the Secretary clarify this? For citizens, we need to make sure when they are collecting diesel subsidy, they should be putting it into the decrease in prices. Secretary, let me first say this. For airlines, they charge CFS for both passenger and cargo flights, and we have clear requirements for airlines to talk about the ultimate fee and the specific fee on their platforms and on the flight tickets. So this is very transparent. There are also clear requirements under the subsidy mechanism with the adjustments. We have been closely communicating with airlines to ask them to have more frequent reviews to make downward adjustments in a timely manner. So in the past month, we have seen airlines adjust downwards CFS for passenger and cargo flights. We will closely monitor the situation, and we hope airlines will continue to make clear and transparent for citizens and the cargo industry what they're doing so that we have a consensus. Thank you, President. Dr. Junius Ho. Thank you, President. We had several members ask about the fuel surcharge. I think the root cause of the problem is about price control for fuels. Would you try to control oil prices at the root to really look at the importation costs? Would the Census and Statistics Department have relevant information? If not, can we impose constraints just like what we do for other commercial activities to impose restrictions on profit margin. I think that should resolve the problem of fuel surcharges. Thank you, Secretary. Thank you, Dr. Junius Ho, for the in-depth question. The question is on specifically aviation fuel, so I can speak from this angle. We have a tight supply of aviation fuel, so we have a comprehensive aviation fuel supply. Most of the companies supplying such fuel are from the mainland. We have expanded supply to ensure stability of fuel supply. The airlines will have regard to their operating costs. And as I said earlier, we have made assessments. Aviation fuel account for airlines 30% of their operating costs. And CFS is part of what they charge to recover this. They also need to make price adjustments to ensure their competitiveness. I understand individual airlines have made adjustments to the CFS, and they would also make adjustments to overall fees based on demand. They have made downward adjustments to ensure their routes and tickets are competitive in price. We do note Dr. Junius Ho's question. As an international aviation hub, we have attached great importance to our competitiveness. We have communicated with airlines for in-depth discussions to make sure Hong Kong's competitiveness would not be impacted.
Question number 4, Mr.